All right, all praise, glory, and honor is most certainly due to the Most High Elohim of the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I'll take each and every one of you in the name of his son, Yahushua HaMashiach, who we know as Jesus the Christ. It's always a blessing each and every single time that I can come before you to bring a message containing the word, and I never count it as a light thing to do so. In today's message, I want to deal with a question that came up. Um, One of the brothers was mentioning Isaiah 28 and saying that line upon line, precept upon precept, that particular passage is teaching that that's how you're supposed to learn the word, that that's a method of learning scripture. And while I understand why people say that, but that's technically not what that's talking about. And so I just wanted to deal with that. And again, this is not me kicking on any method of learning scripture. But one thing you should understand is context when it comes to scripture is important. And so, because you can't, let me just say this: you can absolutely learn the Bible line upon line, precept upon precept. In a sense, if you go to one place and then go to another place to confirm certain things, that's totally legitimate to do. That's not the point I'm making here. And I don't want to be misconstrued. My point is that's not what Isaiah 28 is actually talking about. And so we want to deal with what it's talking about, because if you read it in context, you can understand that this is not talking about a method of instruction. Um, and again, this was a question that came up. So um, the line that's read often is in Isaiah 28 and 10. It says, "For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little." And then they would say, "See, that's how you got to read the Bible." Well, um, I would ask the question. I always ask this question when I read something, and I'm always reading the Bible. When I'm every day, when I'm reading something, I'm asking the question: what's the context? What is the actual larger context? Because things can be taken out of context. So, what's the context here? The context here is judgment, and what I mean by judgment is, uh, let's pick it up a little. Let's pick it up a little earlier. Let's pick it up. Let's pick it up at verse 5, because he's speaking unto his people, and the prophet is telling you that the people are, as usual, the people are out of pocket. So it says, in that day shall the Lord of hosts be for a crown of glory and for a diadem of beauty unto the residue of his people, and for a spirit of judgment to him that sitteth in judgment, and for strength of them that turn the battle to the gate. But notice what he says in verse 7. He says, "But they also have erred through wine and through strong drink." He said, he says, "and through strong drink are out of the way." The priest and the prophet have erred through strong drink. They are swallowed up of wine. They are out of the way through strong drink. They err in vision. They stumble in judgment. Then he goes on to say, "For all tables are full of vomit and filthiness, so that there is no place clean." So now he's talking, and he's saying, listen, the leadership, the spiritual leaders, now they're drunk. Now, in the Bible, it could be literal drunkenness, but you could also have a spiritual drunkenness, and which means that basically you're not in line with what thus saith the Lord. It's a spiritual blindness. Let's just show you an example of that in Revelation, and see. So you can go to a place and look at an example. Nothing wrong with that, but that's just simply not what Isaiah 28 is doing. Uh, he's not telling you a method of instruction. I will get to that in a second, but I just want to show you an example of drunkenness. In Revelation, the 17th chapter, it says in verse 3, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of fornication." So this is figuratively describing ultimately the Roman Catholic Church. Okay, we know the 7 hills, it tells you, or the 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. That's in verse 9. So it's geographically taking you where? To Rome, which was built on 7 hills. But then it says, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. She's the mother church. She's not the true church of the Most High. She calls herself the mother church. She's a whore, spiritually speaking. This is figurative. Not a literal whore, but a spiritual whore. Then it says, and I saw the woman drunken with the blood of saints, with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Okay. So now she's give me 1 second here to find this, because I want to pick it up at verse 2. It says, this is what I actually want to read. Verse 2. Verse 1, I'll pick it up there. It said, and there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials and talked with me, and saying unto me, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. The waters represent the people. She came out of humanity. Verse 2, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. False doctrine. She's made all the inhabitants of the earth drunk, and practically all of them, with her false doctrine. People are spiritually blinded. So you can be talking about a literal drunkenness, but also it was in the spiritual realm, it's a spiritual drunkenness or intoxication that you could have. That's why even the Bible talk about sober minded. It's not, when it's talking about being sober minded, it's not talking about not drinking alcohol. It's talking about being aware and being spiritually alert. Okay, but now back to Isaiah 28. Because it says in verse 8, for all tables are full of vomit and filthiness, so that there is no place clean. And that's so that could take place when somebody's literally drunk and they throw up everywhere, or they regurgitate everywhere, and there's no place clean. Or it could be when you have all of this falsehood and you have basically turned your back on the Lord, no place will be clean because you spiritually in the dark. Then it says in verse 9, whom shall he teach knowledge, and whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. So now what's taking place here is there's a actual mocking or taunting of how this word is being brought forth, and the word is being brought forth through the prophet. The true prophet Isaiah, he's speaking the words of the Lord, and they're actually mocking that. You know that here when it says, for precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. That's actually, like, even if you look in the Hebrew, that's tsav latzav, kav lakav, kav lakav. It's like almost, they making it almost like a children's song, like a drunk and stammering. It's like gibberish. And then they're mocking him in this sing-song way. Like basically, like we know what the law said. Who are you? Basically, you trying to teach? Who you trying to teach us? But he's teaching them from the Lord. The Lord has a message for them. Then, so that's when he said, for precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. And you know what the message is? In verse 11, it says, for with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people. And then people would say, well, see, that's talking about how you're going to learn the word. And that's even, well, the reality is what he's saying here, you're going to learn it from other people in another language. Like, that's not actually technically what he's saying. What he's saying is, this is the judgment. He's speaking to you through the judgment. Because what's the judgment? You're going into captivity, and you're going to hear these languages, some other people speaking that have taken you into captivity. That's the judgment. So it's like, you don't want to get right with what the word the prophet have given you. So you're going to get right, or you're going to learn the message from hearing this. You think that's gibberish. What's the gibberish when you hearing some other language, some foreign tongue? Can you imagine being kidnapped? Imagine being taken to war by some people. They don't know what they're taking. They took you and put you in chains and taking you off somewhere. and you hear them talking, the kind of fear you have, you'll be thinking about you. That drunkenness will go out the window. You'll be sober minded. You'll be like, what's going on? Yeah, you've been taken. And that's what he's talking about. I'll verify that further as we read in context. But let's hold our finger here. We're going to come right back. Let's go to Jeremiah real quick. Because the people, they didn't have a mind to hear. This is Jeremiah, the 6th chapter. Notice what it says here. Because he sent these prophets unto the people, and they just wouldn't pay attention. Jeremiah, the 6th chapter, in verse 9, it said, thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall thoroughly glean the remnant of Israel as a vine. Turn back thine hand as a grape gatherer into the baskets. Verse 10 reads, notice what it says, to whom shall I speak and give warning, that they may hear? Behold, their ear is uncircumcised, and they cannot hearken. Behold, the word of the Lord is unto them a reproach. They have no delight in it. That's the same thing that was going on in the days of Isaiah. When the prophet is trying to tell the people the word, and they making mockery of the word that they have been given. And say, oh, you don't want to hear that word? You don't want to hear the message? Well, get this message. The judgment of the Lord will be heard in the, it said, for with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to his people. You don't want to hear my prophet? I'm speaking to you through your captives. The one who's taking you captive, and you ain't gonna understand what they're saying. Because you are taken captive by a foreign people. That's what he's telling you. And going back here to Isaiah 28, you know that's not talking about a method of instruction. And again, I'm not kicking on the method to actually read and put the scriptures together. I'm not kicking on that. I'm just telling you what actually Isaiah 28 is actually saying. Verse 13. Notice what it says. But the word of the Lord was unto them precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. Notice what it says, that they might go and fall backward and be broken and snared and taken. So that's what it's telling you. It's telling you that your destruction is coming, that judgment is coming. That's what chapter 13 is telling you. Okay? Let's go to one more place. One more place. Hopefully, I mean, again, I'm not kicking on that method. I'm just telling you what Isaiah is actually saying. This is and then Paul, he brings this up in 1 Corinthians. And notice what he it's not like he's using this to tell you how you teach the word or method of instructing or learning scripture. It's actually not used in that way. He says, now he's talking about, notice what he's talking about. He's talking about, in chapter 14, it's talking about tongues, other languages, right? That's the context here. But then he says in verse 19, he said, yet in the church I had rather speak 5 words with my understanding, that by my voice I might teach others also, than 10,000 words in an unknown tongue, right? So, you know, that's another lesson, but tongues is an actual language. It's not some gibberish or babble, but notice, because it's gibberish or babble if you don't know the language. And in the context of tongues, you want to know the language because it's about being edified. How am I gonna be edified in Mandarin if I don't speak Mandarin? You could speak, man. Or if the person I'm speaking to, I'm speaking English, and it's the straight no trace of gospel coming to them. But if they don't understand English, they don't understand Hebrew, they don't understand Spanish, they speak Swahili, then it's not going to benefit them. And that's the point he's making here in this chapter. But then he says, brethren, be not children in understanding, howbeit in malice be ye children, but in understanding be men. And it's ironic because in Isaiah 28, they were mocking, like, you trying to teach us like we children, precept upon precept, line upon line. Because if you read it in Hebrew, it's like a song, a sing song. They actually mocking the word. And these are priests and prophets. They're supposed to know the word. But then it says, in the law, notice what it says in 21, in the law it is written, Let's go back to verse 20. Brethren, be not children in understanding. I want to finish that. Howbeit in malice be ye children, but in understanding be men. So, in other words, hey, be upright. Okay, then verse 21. And the law it is written, with men of other tongues and other lips will I speak unto this people, and yet for all that they will not hear me, saith the Lord. You see that? They will not hear me part? It's not telling you, don't read it where it's telling you that this is how you're supposed to interpret scripture. That's not what it's telling you. What it's telling you is that he was telling you he judges unbelief. He judged their unbelief through them here, and he showed them that when they had to hear those other languages, those people that conquered them, basically. That's what Isaiah 28 is actually. It would say line upon line, precept upon precept. It's not, that wasn't talking about, you read it in context, it's not talking about that's how you're supposed to learn scripture. But again, I'm not knocking that particular method at all. I'm just saying that's not what Isaiah 28 is talking about. And so with that, brothers and sisters, I pray you were edified.